Like I said, I didn't really take football serious. So my aim was, because my family couldn't afford for me to pay through college. So my aim was to just get my college degree, go get a regular job, and help my family. That was my route. So, my freshman and sophomore year, I was just playing, but I was taking the school more seriously than the football, because my aim was to just get the degree. So my focus was just for football. But obviously I got a scholarship, so I had to play football at the same time. But it wasn't until towards the end of my junior year in college where, my head coach at the time at University of Tennessee would, telling me about offers, and I was like, I don't care, I just need to get this degree and just go back home.
Wow.
Yeah, so my junior year finished, and then my senior year we qualified for the World Cup. And at that point I'm like, okay, I'm going to play against women now, because I was in college at the time, and I was like, okay, no, this is serious. At the time I was considered a senior team on my national team, because on the national team we only had one person playing professional. Everyone was in school and high school. So I was like, okay, everyone's looking for me here, but I'm inexperienced at the same time. And then I spoke to my coach, because I qualified the October, so the beginning of my senior year. And then when Christmas came, January, I spoke to my head coach, and he was just like, I think you need to take this more serious. And I was like, but my mom said I have to get my degree, because that's how it is in Jamaica. You have to get the degree before. And he sat me down and he spoke to me, and then I went to my mom, and my mom was like, you got to get the degree before you even think about going pro. So I was like, okay. I wanted to get the degree anyways, but now I have to take the football even more serious now at this point, because my coach told me, the route of how I could help my family and stuff like that. And I knew the politics and some of the stuff that was going on back home, it would be a bit difficult to get the degree and go back home right away to get a job and started helping my family. So started taking the football serious, and then I think around March, April is when Bordeaux offered me a contract. So that's why I ended up in France.
I love that. It's just I decided I'll start taking it seriously. I'll just become a professional.
And
yeah,
then,
that's
and
what
then
it
a
was.
couple of months later, you're off to France.
Even though I got my scholarship to go to America, I was just playing. Like,
wow.
Professional was not in my mind. Going to America was not in my mind. In fact, I remember when I got the scholarship and I went to my mom, and my mom was like, no, you're not going, because I don't know who you're going with. I don't trust people in America. And my dad was like, let her go experience it. If she doesn't like it, she can always come back home. And funny enough, when I left, my dad missed me and he wanted me back. But my mom was like, you're the one that said let her go, and now she's going. So, yeah, so I think my journey was just, free flow, play, enjoy the game. And then, life just happened, and, I take the different routes and the journeys.
That's incredible.
Do you think because you had that attitude of just, it was your degree, but just enjoying your football at the same time, actually let that rise that you had very quickly happen just before you could know it, because you were just enjoying it? You weren't putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah. You know what? I never really, even when the scholarships came and the contracts and the offers, I didn't really know the impact that it would have. I was just like, oh, okay. That's just how I grew up, and that's just how I was. So I was like, oh. And my coach on the other hand, my head at my college, is like, this is big. And I'm like, I guess. Because that's just how, I'm a very chill person. And I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. And then, as like you said, the more I was just enjoying my football, I think, sometimes that's when good things normally happen.
The best comes out of you, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it's incredible. I still can't get over the fact that. What were you studying at college?
So this is it. So my freshman and sophomore year was psychology,
right.
And then closer towards my junior year, because I was a very shy person, I wouldn't talk to anyone, I wouldn't socialize, because of how I grew up. I was always by myself and stuff like that, and so. When I hear about this professional, I'm like, oh, but people doing interviews and I would have to communicate with people. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to struggle. And so I went into my advisor and I was like, I think I want to do communication studies. And she looked at me like, you? Of all people? And I'm like, I know, but if coach is saying I could go professional, I'm going to have to be able to communicate. And she was like, and I said, okay, because one of my teammates at the time was in the same major. So I was like, okay, I could just go. And if I don't like it, I could do something else. And then I went and I enjoyed it with her. And then I ended up getting a communication studies degree.
Amazing. Well, your communication's spot on now. That's the main thing. So it obviously worked.
Yeah.
Moving on to Bordeaux, it's obviously a big adaptation because, I mean, moving from Jamaica to the US is one thing, but then from US to Europe and to France, a new language and everything like that. How did you cope with that initially?
To be fair, I struggled a lot. Like, I knew I was going to America, but I knew the language. And then when I went to my college, there was a lot of Jamaicans because my college go back to Jamaica and bring all the track and field people. So I was associated with track and field, and they would go to the Olympics and stuff like that. So I would always be around track and field. But then when my coach at the time told me about Bordeaux, I didn't even know where that was because I was just focused on school. And so he told me it was in France, and I'm like, French? I don't think that would be possible, you know. And then, you know, sometimes he always say, sometimes you have to make uncomfortable comfortable. And I looked at myself and I was like, okay, I got this degree, I got what my mom want. Now I gotta do something for myself. And if I'm gonna take this football serious, I think going to Europe would be the best bet for me because I was always a physical player and stuff like that. But technically, I want to get better, and I think in Europe, that's the difference between Europe football and America. So I then again took myself up like I did in Jamaica and got to America. Took myself up, went to France by myself, small apartment, language. I would have this scooter that I would scoot back and forth. The rain would wet me. So I would go rain and I would be in the rain. It was just a difficult experience. And I remember I had a Brazilian teammate at the time, Kathleen, and we both were struggling. So she wanted to transfer, but I think the club was not letting her transfer. So she was miserable and I was miserable, but we were close friends. And we were like, oh, we were just miserable together. And we're like, I just need something happen. I just need a change. We just need something to happen so we can go home. And then COVID came.
Right.
Because we went home Christmas and then we came back in January. And we were miserable because that was my first year. And then COVID came and we went home. But I know it sounds bad, but I think COVID was the best thing that happened to me because when I went back home, I got help. I was speaking to my family. I got to see everyone because remember, it's a long season without seeing anyone. Yeah. So I got home, spent more time because normally, even in the summer, you don't spend as much time with your family like COVID. So I remember the president of France said you have 24 hours to get to your final destination. Right. And I went home and I was just refreshed and I was like, okay, one more year. I'm just going to push through this last year because I knew that I was not going to stay in Bordeaux. But my teammates were great. The coaching staff was great, but I just think the culture was not for me. And I just told myself, one more year, I'm going to push through. I'm just going to make the best of it. And then I got leading goal scorer, team of the year, and then,